Are you stumped about why your training is not hitting the mark? Well, friends, I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret. You're probably getting your learners wrong and not setting them up for success and not picking the right type of training, or maybe training isn't the solution at all for them. So in today's video, I'm going to give you the inside scoop as to what you're probably getting wrong and then how to solve that problem. Hi friends, my name is Vanessa Alzate, the founder and CEO of Anchored Training. And at Anchored Training, we create custom learning solutions for our clients that really put the learners back at the heart of training and back at the heart and in the driver's seat of their learning. Let's get right into it. What are you getting wrong about your learners? So first things first, you're not really focusing so much on the learner as the problem, but what the business is seeing the problem is. And while I definitely understand that the business need is huge, not really understanding exactly where the disconnect with your learner is a huge problem, because often the business sits over here and the learner or your employee sits over here and are talking two different languages about what the problem truly is. And they're not seemingly able to identify or kind of bridge that gap and identify what is the best solution for this problem. From the business's perspective, they assume it's a training issue. And from the employee perspective, it might just be as simple as the software that is hard to use, right? That you're trying to train on. Something simple like that. They understand the training, they get how to use it, but the system is pretty clunky. That is a big area in which I find that the business actually gets it wrong. They put themselves first before the employees and themselves and their needs. If they take a step back and think more from the employee's perspective, they would see the problem and maybe identify different solutions in a completely different light. I also find that one of the biggest mistakes that companies make is they make assumptions about their employees. And some of these assumptions go pretty far, right? So they assume the reason they're not utilizing a new software system is that they weren't trained right or the training failed. When in fact, that software system is completely clunky, doesn't actually make their day more efficient. They find it slow to use. There are a bunch of different other reasons why they're not using the system. Or let's say you're training on a new process and you're finding that your employees are going outside of that process. Well, maybe it's not a matter of that they weren't trained properly in the process, but they were never bought into the process because you didn't start with a communications and a buy-in plan before launching that process training. So you see what I'm saying here is making all of these assumptions. You're also making assumptions about their day-to-day. For example, you may create a learning solution that is a 3-hour, training module. Your employees might not have 3 hours to sit and take that training. And if you're not breaking it up or giving them the ability to start it, in those little, 10, 15-minute gaps they have in their day to pick up training, then it's not really going to be totally effective. And they're just going to kind of sit there and go through it and be frustrated from the beginning that they're even sitting in on that training. So their motivation to actually learn and retain the knowledge is going to be pretty low. And to that point, a lot of companies are not creating content that actually fits into their employees' day and their schedule. So again, if you're creating modules that are even 30, 45 minutes, an hour long, but your employees only have 15-minute chunks to complete training, you need to look at how you're taking your learning curriculum and breaking it up into chunks that make sense and that can fit into their day. And with the ability of going back, so pausing it and then bookmarking it and going back to be able to retake it instead of having to sit for that, hour that you probably don't have in order to take that training. And the last mistake that you're making is that you're assuming that everything is a training issue. And frankly, not everything is a training issue. Sometimes it's a motivation issue. Sometimes it's a software issue. Sometimes it's a managerial issue, right? There are so many reasons why things are not sticking. And if you continue training on it, you're never going to actually get to that root cause of the problem and actually solve that problem. You're just going to continue to create training and be on this training hamster wheel. And you're always going to be in a reactive state. You're never going to end up creating training that's proactive. How do you solve this problem? Well, first things first, you need to start with a needs analysis. And that's going to include task analysis, really speaking to your audience, right? Speaking to the learners and learning more about what is their motivation. or what are their motivations, right? What is their day-to-day like? Really understanding what truly their day-to-day like. What we see and what they actually share with us their day-to-day like are probably two very different things. And spending time to do an analysis of whether or not it's a performance issue, or a task issue, or actually a training issue, through also doing surveys and focus groups and really talking to that, end user of that process or that system or whatever it is that you believe training is a need for. So many organizations completely skip that part because the business sees there is a deviation in a KPI, and the reason is probably is training in their mind. And so they've done the needs analysis. They know we're not selling enough of this. It's because it's a training issue. Maybe you're not selling enough of this kind of product because it's a harder sell, or it's it's a product that is a little bit more difficult to sell, or, whatever the case may be. So looking at the different reasons behind truly there is a gap or a deviation from your KPI, or a dip in your KPI. And from that needs analysis, you really want to develop a learner persona. And that learner persona is going to help inform you, who is it that your end user actually is? Who are truly your employees? And really diving into their preferences, right? Their motivations, how much time they have to take training, the type of training they like to take, right? How do they prefer learning? And you can build out this learner persona to really help you hone in on the type of content or the type of deliverables that you are creating. And it's not something that you have to create over and over and over again if you're creating content for the same end audience. However, it's a really good idea to take that learner persona and just to do like a yearly or every couple of year refresh, right? Because that learner persona that you could have created back in 2019 is probably different than the learner persona that you're creating in 2020. Might be the same people, but we're now working in different environments, right? Our days are probably structured differently. Creating or updating or refreshing, I should say, that learner persona is critical. Just helps to inform the choices that you're making when you are identifying that learning is, the answer to the problem. And what you're doing through this needs analysis and this learner persona is truly identifying what is the proper tool that you need in order to address this issue in your organization. And from there, you can say, well, it's not that we need an e-learning module, we just need a job aid. Or we just need a reminder on the fridge in the kitchen that, benefits orientation is every single Friday, whatever the case may be. So if you want to make sure that you're getting your training right and you want to set your next learning program on the right foot, I want you to contact Anchored Training for our learning blueprint process. We really dive in and go step by step with you in identifying who your learners are, really analyze who they are, what they're motivated by, what they prefer, all of those good things, and do a analysis of the actual problem that you're having in order to help develop a custom solution that works for you and your learners. That's where the magic happens, where you can satisfy the business need while also putting the learner at the heart of the solution. So if you're more interested in that, please feel free to click the link down below to schedule a consultation. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video. Bye-bye.